So for those of you who are wondering how I make these circuit boards, here you go. I have a circuit board all prepped and it is actually soldering right now. So what I've got is it on this digital hot plate and it's set to 210 degrees C. Once it reaches about that temp, you'll start to see all of this solder paste melt and all the parts will self-solder them to the board. And they'll even kind of twist themselves in position for the ones that aren't perfect. And what you basically end up doing to build one of these things is you become a human pick and place machine. So you take your components here, which are tiny, and I mean some of them are like grains of rice small or smaller, and using some tweezers you just will place them on the board. But first you apply solder paste to all of the pads on the board, and you can do that. I did it by hand here and I'm kind of sloppy and messy, as you can see, but the better way would be with what's called a stencil, which you would attach the stencil to the board and just put the paste on there and kind of squeegee it in with some like a credit card type thing, and then you essentially would have perfect pads. Then you just go ahead and place your parts down, and then you can use one of these hot plates. You can use hot air, or ideally, if you've got a reflow oven, that would be the best thing. But the hot plate works really well, especially in the case where I have this chip, or this Pi Zero module that's sitting on top of this board. If I were to put this whole thing into a reflow oven, then it would actually loosen up all the parts on that little Pi board, and it has parts on the backside that would possibly fall off. So the hot plate method's nice because it kind of only heats it up in one plane. So you can see it's starting to solder right now. You can see all the little pads are starting to heat up and the parts are kind of doing their thing. You can see the U2 chip is done. The R2 and R3 are done, but it looks like there might be a little solder bridge there. So let's go ahead and get in there and kind of tweak it maybe a little bit. There we go. And this chip U4 is looking pretty good. There are some solder bridges which I'll have to take care of. Again, that's because I was sloppy. And the paste is starting to melt here on this part of the board. And what I'm going to do is just kind of gently hold this side of the board down. And what that will do is kind of accelerate heating a little bit there and let the paste melt. And so you can kind of see it happening there in real time. Let's go ahead and just grab by the corner here too and do the same thing again. And you can see all the solder starting to flow there. Looking real nice. Now you don't want to leave these boards on this heat level for too long. You know, a couple minutes is good just to give it a good reflow. This capacitor is always problematic. Like I find I really have to kind of press down on this. This part of the board just really takes a lot of heat. But see there, you can see it go. And you'll see the solder kind of starting to form and flow. And it will start grabbing the cap there, and just to kind of give it a little nudge there. Oops, I nudged it right out of position. That's the risk you run. Sometimes I gotta hand touch these things back up. But that looks good. Diode looks good. Chip looks good. This guy looks good. All right, I think we're good to shut it down and clean up the board.